All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here for this special Passive House Component Spotlight edition of our lives here with 475 High Performance Building Supply and Floris Keverling Buisman. It's going to be a really special component spotlight edition because we're going to be getting a tour of the 475, the new 475 headquarters, a sneak peek as construction completion is underway. This is a showcase of low embodied carbon materials and high performance building components. So super exciting. Okay, so now to the meat of the program, the heart of the program, the tour of the new headquarters of 475, guided by Floris Keverling Buisman. We're going to see a video tour of the project made exclusively for today's program, followed by a question and answer session with Floris. And we are very happy to be joined by Sean St. Amour, longtime Passive House Accelerator host and creator of the Global Passive House Happy Hour back in the day. He's going to be serving as the Q&A concierge today. So as questions occur to you, please type them into chat. We'll be tracking those. And then we will have Sean ask you to come on camera and ask your question of Floris, and we can have a nice dialogue that way. All right. So I'm going to make a little introduction, and then we'll go into the video. So as I mentioned, we're going to be joined by Floris Keverling Buisman of 475 High Performance Building Supply for this tour. A big thank you to 475 High Performance Building Supply for being a founding sponsor of Passive House Accelerator from the very early days. We're very grateful for that ongoing sustaining support of all of our work here. As I mentioned, the new headquarters of 475 is this showcase of natural materials, other low embodied carbon materials, high performance components. So we get to see them all in action and come together as a suite in this video that we're about to see. So without further ado, I will cue that up. And here we go.
Hi, I'm Floris Keverling Buisman, CEO of 475, and we're here at 369 Warren Street, our new office and warehouse. When we first discovered this building, it was very South Brooklyn. This is a very fancy neighborhood, but this is a very down-to-earth block. And when we saw this 5 cars parked here in a very danky old garage with flickering fluorescent lights, a regular 2-bedroom apartment on top, it was really hard to imagine what we could make in this space that would fit our mission and our company as a low carbon efficient project. We'll introduce you today how we achieved this. So let's go have a look inside. To stay true to our name, this building of course had to be a passive house. That meant that it needed to use less than 4.75 kilobtu per square foot per year. Actually, with a great blower door test, preliminary one of 0.3 air changes per hour, we're getting that number down 20% more efficient, below 4, which is great. We needed to implement, of course, then to do a certified passive house, all the 5 core principles of passive house. Highly insulated envelope, an airtight envelope, thermal bridge free, high performance windows and doors, and skylights, and as well high performance heat recovery ventilation. So during this presentation, we'll show you all those aspects and of course the elements and materials that we supply to North America for this purpose. We'd like to thank you for all the collaboration in this project, including Ryan Enschede, who pushed and refined our design along, so we could have these beautiful 2x4 and 2x6s NLT floors and roofs. Those 1,200 2x4s were nailed together by CityLine Interiors. So thank you very much, Ryan and Mario, for doing this manual labor and making these glue lamps carry those roofs and floors so beautifully. Ed and John from Building Type did the refining of our PHPP model and are getting us to the certification thresholds. This was very important because we for example, had calculated that we needed 12 inches on our roof of insulation, but in reality we only needed 8 plus a little bit sloped insulation. So that made it much more material efficient. So that's why it's good to tweak those numbers. I would like to thank the 475 crew very, very much for helping out. They even applied the Visto to our NLT floors so we could keep our pristine and nice looking ceilings and roofs in good conditions when it rained on top of them. Robert Murray Engineering was also essential so we could make these NLTs work in the New York City Structural Code, as well as we pushed them to get rid of all the metal in flitch plates, in beams, in connectors, as much as we could. And we could keep the concrete floor, the original concrete floor, and as many parts of the masonry walls that came with the original building. So all in all, this building is now a carbon sequestering project with the NLT, soaking up a lot of carbon. And we kept it as low as possible, but also made it as efficient as possible. For the longest time, we felt a little bit like we were the barefoot son of a cobbler. All of our offices had always been uncomfortable, drafty, and inefficient. This always felt wrong because we always preach, build like the future depends on it. So when we were building for ourselves, we had to do the same. So we'd like to take you on this tour to show off all the elements that make this building come true to life and the building for us for the future.
I'm John Mitchell. I'm a certified Passive House designer, partner in the firm Building Type, located here in Brooklyn, New York. And we are the certified Passive House consultants on this project. We're doing the energy modeling as well as the certification management. And we've been having a great time with these details. We have sort of an ideal condition here for an interior insulated masonry building. We have behind the finish a continuous layer of mineral wool insulation, then an air barrier layer, and then a framed cavity also with insulation. So about 7 inches of insulation on the interior side of this wall. Because we have that continuous insulation layer that comes pretty much right in line with our wood framed window, we have a really good SI install value, so we're getting the full benefit of the performance of this window in this wall system. Similarly, at the roof, we have continuous mineral wool insulation above the roof deck that ties into the Lamilux skylights, and then we're insulating up the curb in as much as we can, and really reducing the thermal bridging of those details as well. So all in all, great details in this project.
Hi, I'm Eddie from 475, and we want to extend our gratitude to Rockwool for their support on this project and for supplying mineral wool insulation for all 6 sides. That mineral wool really allowed us to achieve a low embodied carbon and a 99% foam-free enclosure. In addition to having insulation on all 6 sides of this project, it's really important to have continuous air barriers on all 6 sides as well. At the walls, we achieved this by applying Viscon to the structural masonry. That Viscon is continuous from floor to ceiling and acts as both an air barrier and a capillary break. That layer is continuous around the glulam beams above with Viscon fiber making that connection. And then inside of our Viscon layer, we have a continuous layer of mineral wool insulation. That insulation is protected by Intello Plus, which is both an air barrier and a humidity-dependent vapor control layer. That layer is continuously airtight by having its seams sealed with Tescon Vanna airtight tape. At the roof, that Intello Plus layer meets the Adhero Visto above the NLT. That Adhero Visto is both temporary weather protection for the NLT during construction and a continuous air barrier that connects to the Intello Plus to ensure a continuity of the air barrier all the way around the project. So to ensure the air barriers are continuous, it's really important to make sure that our connections to things like window and door openings are smooth and continuous. So the Intello Plus on these walls wraps into these rough openings and is connected to the high performance window frames with Contiga Solido IQ tape. The advantage of Contiga Solido IQ is that it has a stronger adhesive, so it can bond to masonry without a primer, and it's also humidity dependent, so it works well with the Intello Plus and can be used on both the interior and exterior. So the existing slab on grade below these floors was preserved, so we had to insulate and air seal above that. To do that, we used Stego Home Wrap directly on top of that slab on grade to be an air barrier and a vapor retarder. To make sure it was continuously airtight, we sealed the seams with Compigo tape, and then we wrapped that air barrier up onto the walls to connect to the Viscon, and we connected that with Contiga Solido IQ tape. Above the insulation, we have plywood subflooring, and the seams of that are taped with Tescon Vana to make that a continuous air barrier as well, and that layer connects to the IntelliPlus on the walls.
Hi there, Todd Kimmel with Rockwell. I'm the U.S. Senior Manager of Sustainable Solutions here in New York City, also a certified passive house designer. To just talk a little bit about this renovation project here that used, instead of putting continuous insulation on the outside, because it was a lot line condition scenario, 4 inches of semi-rigid stone wool were used on the inside of this building to run continuous. The only connections were the PMF anchors through the boards themselves, and then you have a few structural thermal bridges from the glulands connecting through it, but beyond that, these non-combustible boards are running fairly continuous.
So we're up on the roof now, and in this scenario on this building, they went with a foam-free stone wool insulation roof. And this particular product is a Top Rock DD. They used 8 inches of it. And then for the taper, they added an additional 1 to 5 inches to get the proper slope for drainage. Only challenges here really are the skylights, where they really needed to have an opportunity to cut material. And so stone wool is a great option for that because you can cut it easily with a serrated knife to achieve the continuous insulation that you need at all these locations.
They wanted to achieve continuous insulation on the existing floor, which is a concrete floor. So they integrated some of our high-density stone wool insulation product. In this case, it was Comfort Board 110, 2.5 inches of that. And then they placed the 2 layers of the plywood sheathing or plywood boards down, and then the finished floor, which really provided great continuous insulation and ample compressive strength to kind of hold things together. So it's a good fit for Rockwell.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle O'Grady, and I work in the centralized ventilation department here at 475. I'm thrilled to be discussing with you today what we've done for ventilation here at our new headquarters. We've already worked to lower the VOCs by carefully selecting the building materials. However, we still must eliminate produced contaminants and bring in fresh, oxygenated, and comfortable air to the workplace. It was an easy decision to use the Brink Flare units for our new office. The Brink Flare units have the highest efficiencies and are the most compact in North America for their class. The units are reliable, easy to maintain, and they include the latest technologies, which includes a automatic bypass, a built-in preheater, as well as vane anemometers, which carefully balance the incoming and outgoing air no matter the density. So we have insulated ducts. Insulated ducts should always be used for the intake as well as the exhaust of the Brink system, because if we're thinking winter, that's going to be very cold air coming in through those ducts. It's important to keep those runs very short, as you want to minimize the amount of heat loss. And the longer they are, the more surface area you have to lose heat from your home to those ducts. So we kept those short by bringing the duct straight up through the roof here. The roof was the easiest option for us because of our tight site constrictions. So we used a roof terminal with our flat roof flashing kit to bring in fresh air to our office here. From there, then we are going to go through the core of the unit. We have an intelligent preheater that only turns on when needed. Then we have our MERV 13 filter. It's going to filter that fresh air and bring that fresh air into where it's needed. For that, we did use some insulated duct here. This side of the unit does not need insulated duct, but it is a nice duct, so we wanted to use it here. We have an optional Purin duct, which is a post-filter system. It's an ionization filter system that charges the particles and results in above HEPA level filtration. For the supply side, we just used 1 duct and dumped the air into our open office as it's an open floor plan. We also used a CO2 sensor in the main office space. That way we can have demand control ventilation due to our variable occupancy. The system will automatically ramp up based on how many occupants are there, keeping our CO2 levels within healthy ranges. For the exhaust system, we did use our home run system. The home run system includes a manifold and 3-inch ducts that distribute air throughout the space, or in this case, pull air from various spaces, including bathrooms, our kitchenette, and our mechanical room downstairs. So for that, we use 3-inch ducting, which fits in a nice 2x4 wall. Some spaces require 1, 2, or 3 ducts pulling air from those. We used a combination of both semi-rigid 3-inch ducting as well as 3-inch flex ducting, as some of the ducting needed to go through our fire-rated floor. These ducts then connect to a 2 or 3 port diffuser box, and then you get more air pulled from each space. I'm proud to be working for a company that values its employees' health and provides excellent indoor air quality so we can flourish.
When you first walk into our new office, you are greeted by natural light flooding the first floor space via the FE circular skylight installed on the roof 2 stories above. This FE circular skylight is prefabricated on a 20-inch insulated curb for a roof opening with diameter of about 71 inches. This extra tall curb was ideally suited for our passive house project, as it allowed us to easily achieve the 6 inches of necessary clearance over our heavily insulated roof. This circular skylight also utilizes triple-layer insulated glazing and a thermally broken aluminum profile, which ensures compliance with our passive house certification requirements. As you make your way up the stairs to the 2nd story, more light pours through the stairwell from above via the Lamilux comfort swing. This roof access skylight is ideally suited for roof access over a staircase thanks to its span of approximately 39 inches by 138 inches. The operable sash of the skylight is lifted along hinges attached to the long edge of the skylight via motorized pistons concealed in the curb on the short edges. With an insulated curb, triple layer glazing, and thermally broken profile, the comfort swing was a no-brainer for a high-performance retrofit. We even chose 475 blue for the aluminum trim on the skylight to add a splash of color to the space. Above our main office space is the crown jewel of our new office, the Lamilux PR60. The Lamilux PR60 is a high-performance knockdown system, meaning it is delivered to the job site as a custom kit of parts, including triple-layer insulated glazing units, thermally broken aluminum profiles, and insulated flashing connections to the existing structure. According to Nikola Tesla, our new office address, 369, has a special significance in the inner workings of the universe. With this in mind, we looked to implement the numbers 3, 6, and 9 into the fabric of our building wherever possible, including with the Lamilux PR60 skylight, which includes 3 glass fields with different lengths, with lengths corresponding to the ratio between the digits 3, 6, and 9. The smallest glass field in this PR60 is an operable ventilator flap, which can be opened and closed via motorized chain drive actuator to allow fresh air into the space below.
We're excited for this next chapter in our company and enjoyed showing you around our headquarters in this video. Of course, you're always welcome to come check it out in person. This project wouldn't have been possible without the support of the Empire State and New York State Economic Development Corporation. Without their funding for sustainable buildings, this project wouldn't have been possible. I'd also like to thank Pat Sabinsley from New York City Acre, Mike Bobker from the Building Performance Lab, as well as our City Council member Lincoln Ressler for supporting our New York State grant application. I also need to thank my parents, Eliza, Fulton, and Liddy for their support and help during this project. Send my gratitude as well to Ben Lear and Matt Cole for helping build this beautiful stair. The wood floor I'm standing on is from Ghent Lumber, and these beams are from Unilam, 2 New York State suppliers that we like to support and have been great to work with, especially in regards to flexibility for delivery times. Of course, in the past decade, we've been very fortunate to work with our European suppliers and intend to do so for the long future. We'd like to beautify the street even more and are appreciated for our new neighbors, Ray and Hayden, who have introduced us and made us very welcome on this block. And we'd like to make this block, the city, the planet, and the United States ever greener and more sustainable.
Wow. Amazing. Applause.
Yeah,
It's an
absolutely.
incredible project and mission and vision. That's really awesome. Thank you very much, Floris. And with that, I want to introduce and welcome to the screen Floris Keverling Buisman, who is the CEO of 475 High Performance Building Supply, and hand it off to Sean St. Amour, who is our Q&A concierge.
Wow, you guys, that space is gorgeous. I can't wait to come check it out. But wow, all the staff and everyone else that gets to take on that space. So I guess the first question, Floris, for you is when does the crew move in?
Well, that depends a little bit on the city. So anybody that works for the city, that if they can help us out with getting our electrical inspections sped up a little bit, it would be appreciated. So we were intended to move in sometime in January. Hopefully that can still happen because we plan to have an opening event in February, but continued upon city approval.
Gotcha. Okay, so the 119 people here today, call your friends in New York City and help Floris and 475 out, and give them a little nudge, right? We all need a little help.
Yeah.
I mean, that video is beautiful. I can't wait to see it for myself, and it's so great to have the team involved at different stages there and showcase various portions of the project. That was a great video. So hope everyone enjoyed it. Let's get into questions. First up is Richard. Richard, if you want to come on screen and ask your question, go for it. And if you're unable to, I can ask it for you, but hope you can do it. Richard, are you there? Richard's questions was
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
nope.
was struggling to unmute.
Okay,
Yes,
go
on
ahead.
the Brink system, the bypass that you mentioned, automatic bypass, is that humidity controlled or temperature controlled? And one other question on the exhaust side, the duct network, is that Brink product or is that other?
Yes, so the bypass is temperature dependent. So you can set the temperature at which point the bypass would open. Of course, it only opens if it actually helps. So in Europe, it's mostly called for summer cooling or night cooling. Of course, we know in New York City, sometimes in the summer, you don't want to cool, or you can't cool, so it will not open. And sometimes in September, you might have one of these funky days where it's actually really, really humid, but not that, but only like 78. So then you might have to do a manual override if you don't want to bring in that a little bit more humid air directly. Those ducts, I think you're talking about these. These we source for a different supplier in the Netherlands. So we have a complete system and it's a very elegant duct system because you can see the ribs on the outside. Those actually fit with gaskets that clamp in, which is actually very nice. So if you have to move something or want to inspect it or want to do a blower door test, you can actually disassemble these ducts and seal your holes to the outside. So that can help a lot. Actually, I do need to. Okay.
That exhaust manifold for distribution,
Yeah.
is that Brink or is that?
That's Brink. That's a Brink product.
Okay.
I do need to give a shout out. I forgot to do it to Kevin Brennan, because he helped us with the Fiscon and he also did our preliminary blower door test. We were a little nervous, but we got 0.3, so it was very nice. He brought this little duct blaster, so he was pretty confident that we're gonna have a good result. And also Darren from White Windows, because he actually, for the apartment, we've insulated the back of the apartment wall, not the front yet, but Darren was able to provide us with some windows very quickly because we had a little bit of leftover rock wool. So we decided to insulate the back wall, but then we also needed passive house windows. So that worked out very, very nice.
And thank you for clarifying the bypass specifically on, if it's humid outside, that needs to be manually controlled. And I'm in climate zone 2A, Austin, Texas. So
sure,
we'd be using that manual override probably quite often.
Yeah, no, most of the time it shouldn't be necessary because but there could be days where it's just, the dew point would be in the 70s, but your the temperature could be low enough that the unit would think it would be helpful. But it's kind of rare, but it could happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions there, Richard. And if you haven't seen Jeremy and Gabrielle's background, that's the current office as well as the Floris. And so, you know what? I don't know. That Intel back wall looks pretty nice. I don't know why you guys had to cover it up in the new building. As
it's not supposed to be exposed, but
I know, but I know it has to deal with UV, but it sure looks good,
Right.
The old building didn't need a truth window.
Right.
Yes.
That's we have a very big truth window here.
Absolutely. No, great stuff. Thanks, Richard. And you know what? I thought Kevin was involved, and so I I'm glad that he got a good shout out because we love Kevin. Right, Kevin? We love you. All right, moving along. Stuart, you're up next.
Thank you for sharing. Great project, great showcase for the products. I was really fascinated by the NLT, the nail laminated timber floors, and how you arrived at NLT over other options, layup options, and how you arrived at the kind of dual thickness of the timber members.
Right. So yeah, the NLTs, we started looking at it because, you know, it's a kind of a small project. So we priced out some CLTs and they came back a little bit higher than we liked the number. And then lumber actually got pretty reasonable pricing again, luckily. And so we were like, oh, well, you know, for these 2x4s and 2x6s, you know, it was less than $20,000 in materials. So like, all right. But you have to put it together. So that was it was good. And then so Mario was very helpful with that. At first we had a vision to build like 4-foot panels ourselves here in our current location. But then we figured out then we need to bring it over 3 blocks, and it's just silly. Because it gets kind of heavy once you have 4 feet of it. Because they're 12 foot long. We had looked at the NLT span lengths ourselves already. But then when we started working with Robert Murray, we wanted to do this 369 reference also in our design. And also for acoustic reasons, we wanted to have a little bit uneven. So in our second floor, we have 2x6s for the, you know, for the live load, because there's people and, you know, not a lot of equipment, but we were able to do mix in some 2x4s when we worked with Robert Murray. We asked that to make that visually attractive. So we have 6 2x6s and then 3 2x4s in the pattern. And then upstairs we do the inverse. We have 6 2x4s and the 3 2x6 kind of alternation.
Wonderful.
And then you need 3.5 inch or 3 1/4 inch nails to shoot them all together. 11 inch on center.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And Stuart, I'll just give a shout out to Structurecraft that's here in BC. They do DLT, and their actually website is really cool to talk about all the acoustical of different patterns because they offer different sizes. And I can tell you, I've been in a home that had a 2x8, 2x6, and looking up at it, I fell in love with it. So you know, I'm already fallen in love with this particular project, and I can't wait to see it firsthand. But the pictures look amazing, and I'm sure again when you're in that space, just how the sound will work is going to be really inspiring. So, you know.
Yeah, it was very nice too. I checked in with Jacob Rakusen from New Energy, because he, you know, he has a lot of experience in this and that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you could do it, and you put it on a ledger, and then you just get a glue lamp." So I said, there's a very nice community to that we could reach out to for assistance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a project where it's a 100-year-old NLT, and I mean that's kind of how things were built. And now, you know, seeing it come back in different folds, all this mass timber, it's just, you know,
Well, it's so
again,
nice.
just
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's old code. You know, they never took it out, so we were able to do it.
Just have to blow up the dust and be like, oh yeah, we want to do that again. You know, go back 80 years. So, all right, moving along. Thanks. Great question, Stuart. Andrew, over to you, my friend. Where are you?
Hey, good. I asked the exact same question, so everything's answered.
Well, I figured you might have something else to add because you know you're a smart guy and you know always interested in new things. But
And good looking too, Sean. But just a shout out just for the NLT approach, because we're doing some NLT work in Colorado. And your story is similar to what the Bullet Center did years ago when they built a big old NLT structure, and they did it because it was old code too. It's all over Seattle, so like BC is full of the same type of structures. So you know, long live NLTs, and just keep on experimenting. So thanks for. It's really exciting to see it in such a beautiful application.
Yeah, just get some straight wood. So that's that's the challenge.
Well, it keeps the guys busy.
Right, that's true. They use some clamps and all this and that. It's they did a very nice job.
All right, moving through the questions. I thought I saw one here. 1 second there, Kim. There was another question for Gabby. Maybe actually, Floris, could I bug Gabrielle for a second and get her? So installing the Brink. How was it for you to get the hands on to actually like cut the ducting and play around with things? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that was a great experience. I've been able to get out to a couple different project sites, and then also being able to do our office. So yeah, just using both types of 3-inch ducting that we supply, pros and cons of each. Yeah, working, yeah, with getting in different areas and then, getting to know, just being able to work with our customers even more, understand kind of different tricky install situations that they might run into and be able to help them further. So I think it was great for myself. There was a couple shots of both two other people on the Brink team. So Chris and Sasha were also there as well. So great exposure for them and just, yeah, getting, hands-on is something that I like about 475. We really have touched the material. So
And one thing about again, the supply for the roof, I mean, most of the time, in my experience, everything's going through a wall because we've got a wall to go through, but you guys didn't have that on this particular project. And so is there limitations of distance between exhaust and supply, even on the roof? Like, is there a minimum distance for those pipes?
yeah, so we always say, go with what your code requires, and a lot of times code doesn't differentiate between the exhaust from the ventilation system and the more, noxious exhaust systems. But of course, if it's 10 feet, you have to go 10 feet. Brink, the manufacturer, requires 5 feet separation. So that's their minimum there. But yeah, putting the supply in a place where it's the freshest air possible is key there. We did do roof. We will be, we have a nice exit hatch to go out to the roof, so we'll be able to check on that. But one thing about some projects doing a roof is we just want them to be able to visually inspect it occasionally. So oftentimes a wall location is best for that because it's something you can see. But yeah, I'm confident that we'll be able to, check on and clean our roof terminal here.
Yeah, we have
And
some
one,
challenges because New York City code is a little funny, but because you need to be 10 feet from property lines. But if your property is only 25 feet wide, so luckily we have a spot to put it, but there's some wonks in the code that you need to dance around. Uh,
Another question for you, Gabby, is those CO2 sensors, which seem like completely fascinating. How many will you have in the office? Is one enough, or with the amount of staff there, do you think a few more are needed? And maybe want to keep it away from Aaron.
Go plan the office according to that. No, we only have one because while there's going to be employees working on both floors, the one space is going to be where there's going to be many more employees working on the one floor. So you can do up to 4 CO2 sensors per project, but whichever the one is, the highest, that's going to call for the most ventilation. So we know where the location that's going to call for the most. So in this case, we only needed one. But if you're, have one wing of a home or a space that has some sort of auditorium and another space that might be occupied at different times of the day, then that's maybe when you would use more than one.
yeah, so in a house there would be, your living room where the party is, and then the bedroom where something else, where you sleep, so
And
so
four, got it.
yeah.
No, great system. We've got a question here, and then I'll come back to Jeremy in a second here. Catherine, want to ask your question?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask if you could remind us again how many employees are in space and what the square footage is of the office?
Catherine, it's a little hard to hear, so maybe I'll just repeat the question. It just says, remind us how many employees per square foot.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, I guess you'd assume, 4 square feet. No,
No, we'll have
8 square feet.
we have in the office space we'll have about 16 desks.
Okay.
It's a 2,400 square foot space, but we have a little bit of a garage door up front that's not part of it. And then we also have in the back, we have a big room that's 25 by 25. That's for materials. So there's nobody sitting there. So I don't have the exact number.
Gotcha. Jeff, you had a question? No, just a comment? Okay. So Jeremy, let's dive into those skylights, because again, beautiful stuff. And again,
I'm just nerding out on that Intello wallpaper. I really love it.
I know, I do too. Looks pretty slick. Again, the walls working when you can see the labels and you can see the stuff, right? I mean, when we hide it by all the aesthetics, it's great, but we like seeing, you're a real Passos nerd when you actually want to see the product and not just cover it up with the other material. So, Jeremy, love the skylights, and again, appreciate the components file that you had a few months ago with us on those particular items. Any particular details out of those kind of 4 units up there that you're really passionate about? Any other comments about those units?
Really cool to see the comfort swing utilized on this project over the staircase for roof access. That's a product that is relatively new in US and Canada. So to be able to feature it, it's pretty exciting. And to be able to utilize it, it really is exciting just being able to open that up and walk up the stairs and onto the roof. Some really nice views of this downtown Brooklyn skyline from up there. So it really adds to the space and creates nice access to the outdoors. The PR60 utilizes, as I mentioned in the video, 3 glass fields of differing lengths. The largest of which is quite long, quite heavy. So that was kind of a challenge during the install. Setting that into place required a lot of hands from City Line and from 475 to transport from the crate to the opening, but it's done effectively, and we were actually able to complete that install of the PR60 in about 2 days. So very efficient install by our former colleague and friend of 475, Trevor Cook.
Great stuff. Yeah, beautiful windows. That being said, too, is with all the skylights of there, would you guys need shading, or you figure it's designed properly for you guys up there?
Well,
All
right, go ahead.
Sorry, excuse me. We did consider that going in. There is some shade provided by the adjacent building and also from the apartment at the front of our building, and then we'll also have eventually a solar canopy up there, which will provide some additional shading for the skylights. So the solar heat gain was definitely taken into account in our passive house model, and we're pretty confident that we'll be able to manage glare and overheating effectively.
Yeah, that solar canopy would be cool. Anyhow, great space. Again, I love the lighting, and I mean, I only critiqued on it was like, was there too much? And it's so hard to see that when you have high performance windows. But I was like, wait a second, is it too much lighting? But beautiful systems, and again, great that you guys were able to showcase that. And even again, the address, the 369, like, was that hanging out with Matt at the local brewery that came about, or how did that discussion turn into part of the design and kind of almost
Right,
Phius of the project?
we needed a silly name to make a LLC for this building, but then we weren't
Gotcha.
allowed to call it what was an April Fool's joke a long time ago from us. We weren't allowed to call it the Best Practices Institute. So that was very unfortunate. So then we had to look for a different name, and Matt Cole indeed found out that the address was Nikola Tesla's favorite number, and so that became the reason to it was a nice design guidance then to drive everybody crazy with these 369. So you see a lot of rooms who'll have 3 lights or 6 lights and stuff like that. Our stairs are made out of 2 sets of 3 2x4s. So I think it's everywhere if you start looking.
That's so cool. I love it. It's like your little Easter eggs hidden in the 475 new headquarters. Love it.
Yeah.
Carmel had a question. Carmel, over to you.
Oh yeah, just wanted to get the name of that ductwork you said you sourced from Netherlands floors that insulated and like pre-fit.
Yeah, so we supply that ductwork with our Brink systems. That's part of our system.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Great. Over to Greg West. More of just some product stuff. So Greg, do you want to ask that question?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I missed part of the presentation. So is there warehouse storage space or is it all office space?
We have a 25 by 25 warehouse space
Oh, yeah.
in the rear of our of
Is
the
that part of
office
the
space.
like PH building envelope?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, so we have a front area that's not directly behind the garage door. We also have a garage door here. I actually just we resecured our Intello curtain over the garage door to make it a little bit more airtight.
Okay.
But that garage space, you know, with the metal garage door, there's no hope. So not a commercial garage door. So
Yeah.
that's not part of the envelope.
Oh, I see. Well, that's what I was going to ask is what kind of overhead door did you use if that was the case? But
Yeah. It's
see.
possible to get a residential insulated garage door. I think Tim Ian, who is also in the call, knows more about that, but we haven't replaced that door yet. Maybe later.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, the most skookum garage door I've seen is if you've seen the Subaru car dealership in Red Deer, Alberta. Again, had Intel all the great products, but I mean that is probably the most sophisticated garage doors I've seen, and also the one up at UNBC's lab as well. So they are there. You just unfortunately those are the few items that we haven't brought in or made locally. We still have to bring them in from across the pond. So pretty cool. Stuart, you had another question. Stuart, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still obsessed with the floors, as you can tell, mostly because that NLT system is so applicable to smaller scale projects. I know a lot of CLT projects, multifamily projects, office projects that are at such big scale that they make sense, and there are a lot of factories involved to spit out huge numbers of panels. But I want to know more about your smaller scale NLT project and the floor assembly above the NLT. It looked like wood flooring, hardwood flooring finish. And is there a interlayer of some kind or an acoustic decoupler that you used or would recommend?
Yeah. So we did on top of our NLT, we did put a layer of plywood, a layer of cork and alignment, and then the wood floor. There is if it was a residential setting or something else smaller, you could be concerned about contact noise, but we didn't want to, you know, what happens a lot in mass timber, which I always think is a little funny. Then people pour concrete on top of the wood, which adds mass, but it also adds a lot of carbon emissions. So we didn't do that.
Yeah, Stuart, the other two projects 475 has been in that I was involved in. So the Fort St. John RCMP office had NLT, and they had add plywood and then 2 inches of concrete of it. And then the other one that 475 is involved in is right across from BC Place that was filled with Taylor Swift fans this past weekend. That particular building, it's NLT, and it had plywood, and it's going to have 2 inches. So. You know, again, that's that combination of dealing with mass and trying to deal with sound and then also fire separation.
Yeah, you could also use sand and stuff like that. You have to make sure that the sand doesn't fall to your floor eventually.
That's why it's so great about putting the Visto, because the Visto could be in there to protect the sand to go through. So, you know, it's not just water management, but could be future sand protection too.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that is it for questions, everyone. Any last minute questions? Raise your hand. All right, well, we'll cap it at that. Floris and the 475 team, thanks for the presentation. Great details. I mean, again, I can't wait to see it in person. But the fact that we got to have a personal fly-in view of it today was fantastic, and I look forward to hearing more stories and about the experience that your staff and you get from when you're working in there, and being able to test out the products, and again, all the products that do get to store in there. How can you say like you're storing products in a passive house? I mean, those products are pretty lucky as they're short stay from incoming from your manufacturers and sending it out to the customer. So great stuff. Zach, I'll send it over to you to closing remarks. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Pleasure to be here, and great stuff for 475.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, John, very much. And Floris and team, really appreciate the presentation. Really fantastic work. So I can't wait to see it in person sometime next year, probably. And thanks, everyone, for being here. It was great to have you join us for this special tour of the 475 High Performance Building Supply HQ. And I hope everyone enjoys your Thursday.